Hey guys, this is Bethany, and I'm back to share another story with you guys. Last week it was really fun to meet the goats at Barnyard. I have always loved goats. I had goats as pets when I was growing up, and I have a lot of stories about goats, and I wanted to share one with you from when I was younger that I loved, and it's called Gordon the Goat by Monroe Leaf. Gordon the Goat. Gordon was a goat. And he lived in Texas. He liked to eat, and it didn't matter very much to him what he ate. He would try anything. Mostly, he ate leaves from the mesquite trees. But he was just as soon try a dish towel off the line or ham from the smokehouse if he could get in. And every now and then, he'd even bite a cactus, but he was sorry every time he did. Gordon lived on a ranch with a lot of other goats. He didn't work very hard. All he did was just go on being Gordon day after day. And every once in a while, he would get his hair cut. The men who cut his hair called it mohair, and they sold it to other people. They used it to weave things like cloth and stuff things like cushions. That was all right with Gordon. He didn't care what they did with his hair, just so they didn't nick him when they were cutting it off. On the ranch where Gordon lived, there were some goats that were called lead goats because other goats followed them around. If a lead goat was at one place and he decided he didn't want to be there any longer, he would go someplace else, and all the other goats would tag along behind him. Sometimes where he went was better, sometimes it was worse. But better or worse, when he went, the rest of the goats went along. Gordon went too. He never quite knew why. He didn't like any of the lead goats very much, but he didn't dislike any of them very much either. So when all the others started off behind the leader, the easiest thing for Gordon to do was just go along too. That's what he did, and most of the time he waited too long before he decided to go, that all the other goats were up ahead of him and he was at the tail end of the line. One very hot day, the lead goat decided he didn't like where he was, so he started out for someplace different. He thought he remembered seeing some weeds he had never tried before over on the other side of the hill. Off he went to find the new weeds, and along went the rest of the other goats, with Gordon at the end. After a long, hard walk, they found the new weeds, but they weren't much good. Gordon ate some, but he wasn't quite sure they made him feel very well. After a while, he began to be pretty sure that he was sorry he had come along at all. So he sat down and decided to stay there until he felt better. But just when Gordon was getting comfortable, the lead goat decided to go somewhere else. So away he went with the other goats behind him. And the very last was Gordon, who really didn't feel like going at all. While he walked along, With the hot sun beating down on him, Gordon wondered and wondered just why had he come along? He was trying to figure out why he didn't do some thinking for himself, instead of just following all the other goats who followed the lead goat just because that was what they always did. It didn't seem to make much sense to Gordon. While he was deciding this quietly to himself, Gordon noticed that way off ahead of all the goats, there was a big, dark, dusty-looking thing coming right at them. It started on the ground and stretched clear up into the sky and was bigger than anything Gordon had ever seen before. Gordon didn't like the look of it one bit, and it kept right on coming at them, faster and faster. Gordon wished that the lead goat would go somewhere else instead of straight ahead, but he didn't. So on they walked, and at them it came until they were right in the middle of a twister. Now, a twister or a tornado is no fun to be in, and Gordon was scared. Up he flew in a black, wet cloud that tossed him round and round, upside down and downside up, all at the same time. Other things caught in the twister too, bumped against him till he was sore and bruised and could hardly catch his breath. With all the going round and round, Gordon grew sorrier and sorrier that he had ever eaten those new weeds. First, he turned yellow. And then he turned green. And then he was sick. Gordon felt sorrier for Gordon than he ever had before in his life. And when he had reached the point where he felt he couldn't last much longer, he saw the old lead goat go whirling past him, higher and higher. And when he looked as though he felt even worse than Gordon, just then an extra sudden puff and swirl shot Gordon out of the edge of the twister, and he landed with a thud in the middle of a field that was soft enough to keep him from breaking his bones, but hard enough to hurt a lot. After a long while, Gordon got up slowly and looked around. He was stiff and bruised, and he ached all over, but he knew something now that he wouldn't forget. Never again would he just tag along from one place to another just because everyone else did. He was going to find out first where he was going, why he was going, and what he was going to do when he got there. Gordon does his own thinking now, and he gets along much better than before. So that was Gordon the Goat by Monroe Leaf. And thank you so much for reading along with me today. It was great to see you, and I can't wait to see you back at camp. Bye! So I never realized that this author was so prolific. And some of his other works include Manners Can Be Fun, Grammar Can Be Fun, and I agree. Safety Can Be Fun, Health Can Be Fun, Fair Play, Noodle, The Watchbirds, More Watchbirds, Fly Away Watchbird, 3 and 30 Watchbirds. So, I know this is out of print right now, and maybe the others are as well, but I would be interested in the grammar one. So, yeah, thanks for reading along with me.